The Saab market as a whole is a very interesting thing. We have so many models of cars available, from new gen Saab 9.3s to new gen 9.5 combis that we'll talk about here in a minute, all the way back to the classic 900s and two-stroke V4 Saabs and older. These cars can go anywhere for free, a 12-pack of beer, or almost nothing, all the way up to 6 figures. And it's crazy to see the variation that we have in our market. So today, within the last few months, I want to talk about 3 very specific things that have happened in the Saab market. First off, we have some NG 9.5 combis for sale. There were only 37 of these made in the entire world, pre-production models. So you're going to want to hear about those because the asking prices are crazy, and justifiably so. We also want to talk about some classic 900 prices because they're all over the place. It's hard to figure out what's going on with those. And secondly, there's a pair of NG 9.3 anniversaries that sold for some pretty crazy amounts. So let's get started. Quickly before we start, I want to share this little guy with you. His name is Ollie. He is a mini Bernedoodle. He is just super amazing. We've had him for a couple weeks now, and he's just been so great. He has been taking up a lot of my free time, so I'm going to put him back inside now, but as you can see, he is a bundle of joy. He's a fun little guy. So let's get to the video. Let's start with these NG 9.5 combis. So as I mentioned, for those who might not be aware, the new generation Saab 9.5 was sold as a sedan only between 2010 and 2011, before Saab, of course, was cut by GM. At that time, Saab was working on a wagon version of that car that unfortunately did not make it to market. However, as you can see here, there were 37 pre-production cars assembled before they ceased operations, and there's 27 that are known to exist today. Now, I'm going to link this page that I'm looking at down below in the description box because there's a lot of really cool information here, and whoever's put this page together did a phenomenal job. To my knowledge, at least, all of these cars are in Europe. I don't believe any of them have made it to the United States yet. You know, of course, we have our import laws and other things that probably have to be imported under show and display. It's of course not 25 years old yet, and they are selling for some crazy prices. So our first one here is a really special example. This is a 9.5 Aero. You can see it has some beautiful Hirsch upgrades as well. We'll scroll through the pictures here very quickly, but just look at how beautiful this car is. Just absolutely gorgeous. The rear navigation, just a pristine example of a, not only a Saab, but an NG 9.5 wagon nonetheless. So it's an automatic, 45,000 kilometers. It has the Hirsch 260 horsepower stage 1 tune, Hirsch 20-inch wheels, and Brembo brakes. And they're asking $100,000 in the Swiss currency, which, go ahead and do this for the Swiss franc here, converts to $125,000 USD, which is just crazy, crazy money. But let's move to the second one now, which is located in Czech, I believe. Let's take a look at the photos for this one. This one has a tow hitch fitted, pretty cool. You can see photos as well. This one is a manual, it looks like, which is really, really neat. A manual NG 9.5 combi. Now that is cool. Yep, it is a manual, 60,000 kilometers on it, and they are asking 79,000 euros. This one is a TTID front wheel drive, so 79,000 euros for us Americans. That translates to about 92,000 US dollars. And of course, this is before any sort of other taxes or things that might apply. So you're probably looking at over 6 figures for that car as well in USD. And then we have our last one, a Vector TID. Again, I'm not gonna go through the whole description that's written here, but you'll wanna check them out. This one is in Germany. I really like the wheels on there. Those are the 9.5 Aero wheels. This one is also a manual. Wow, look at that. The rear infotainment. It's got the 4-cylinder, of course. But the manual, that is just so, so, so special. 60,000 kilometers on that one as well. It's a TID, so it's not the twin turbo, it's not the 2-liter turbo. It's a TID, so it's a little bit less powerful, but the fact it's a manual, like, you're not buying this car to go fast. 85,000 euros located in Germany, and 85,000 euros translates to just a hair under 100,000 US dollars at the current exchange rate. And that is just, look, the fact that even one of these is for sale is cool. The fact that 3 of them are for sale at once is just incredibly, incredibly special. And if we scroll down here to the bottom, you can see, here's first off a picture of a few of them together, which is really cool. But there's actually kind of a list of the cars that have sold and where they've gone to. Like this one went from Sweden to Sweden, Sweden to Finland, Norway to Luxembourg, Netherlands to Belgium. I mean, you can see these cars, how rarely they transact. So I've noticed that Bring a Trailer sells an insanely high number of Saabs relative to Cars and Bids, which is a bit unfortunate because I do like Cars and Bids a bit better. So we're just gonna look at Bring a Trailer specifically because they also have this amazing data. So this, for reference, is Classic 900s that have sold in the last 2 years only. Because if I did everything they've sold ever on the site, and this is a market report, we're looking at more current times. And so you might all remember, you know, a decade ago, you could buy Classic 900s a dime a dozen. They were very easy to find. They were maybe not very easy to find, but they're very easy to get cheap. And now, you know, kind of since COVID, they of course went up in value, and they haven't really come back down. I think to some extent they have a little bit, but just look at this graph. So again, the dark dots are cars that sold. The ones that are not filled in are the ones that did not meet reserve or did not sell. So you can see a vast majority of these sold, and it's just hard to pinpoint not only a, you know, kind of a trend line for these cars, but there's so many factors that go into these cars when they sell. Especially on Bring a Trailer, you're usually looking at the nicer example C900s. You can still get C900s cheap, don't get me wrong. They're usually gonna have a ton of problems and are gonna be rusty, but you can still get them cheap. So the Bring a Trailer cars are usually the cream of the crop or close to that. And so you can look at this over the last 2 years, you can see prices haven't really, you know, if anything, they almost seem to maybe be going back up slightly. But you can see that, you know, there's so many variables. Like I said, you have transmission, of course. Manual versus automatic makes a tremendous difference when selling a Classic 900, more so than I think any other car, or especially any other Saab that I have seen. It's incredible to see the difference that the transmission makes. The manuals are worth far more. You also have mileage. Mileage, truthfully, when I've seen these 900s, mileage doesn't really seem to matter. People are much more interested in the condition. If you have a really nice kept 200,000 mile SPG or 250,000 mile SPG, people will still pay big money for it. So the mileage, surprisingly, on these cars really doesn't seem to matter. And a lot of them are higher mileage. You also, of course, have trim. You have, you know, your base model. Is it a turbo? Is it an SPG? Do you have a Carlson maybe even, or an Airflow, or an SIS, or any of these other special editions? Is it a commemorative edition? Those, of course, impact value pretty greatly as well. I won't go through any of these cars in particular, but you can see that some of them have sold for some pretty low amounts. This one is a 900S, so it's a non-turbo 5-speed, sold for $2,600. A manual convertible Classic 900 for $2,600. That is a steal. But then on the other end of the spectrum here, you have a 26,000 mile yellow one that sold for $59,000. So the pricing on these is just everywhere. It seems like there's a trend line kind of around the $10,000 to $15,000 mark. There's a few that have definitely sold, you know, maybe 5 to 10, but I think most of the cars sell in that 10 to 15 range. If you have a nicer one, you can expect to get north of 20. But it's great to see these cars have held their value since kind of the car market as a whole has cooled back down after COVID. Let's move to our last topic, the NG93 anniversary convertibles. Now, when I initially was looking at these reports, the NG93 market convertibles especially, it seemed like these anniversaries were going for a premium because you have this one, which was 6,000 miles. It was an automatic. It sold for $28,000 here. I mean, 6,000, that's a brand new car, basically, $28,000. Then you have a no reserve example, but that was a manual that had more miles, sold for $26,750. If you ask me, I think this guy got a better deal. I mean, both are phenomenal cars. Both, I think the sellers are probably very happy. The buyers are probably very happy with what they got. Phenomenal examples of cars. I'm not going to go through the photos too much on these, but just a beautiful, beautiful car. That one's got the ICM3 as well. This is probably the exact spec you want. I mean, look at that. Brand new under the hood. Really, really just phenomenal example that's been well kept for 2 decades now. So this one ended very recently. This one also ended, within the last 3 months or so. And I think that if you go to the NG93 market as a whole, it's kind of the same as the C900, but the extremes aren't as much. We still have a lot of just daily driver NG93s. A lot of people still daily drive them. They're not that old of cars yet that transact for, $2,000 to $5,000 if it's rough, $500. But then you do have some nice examples like these that'll transact for $26,000, $28,000, and it seems like the convertibles are the ones that fetch more money than the sedans or the combis. There was a combi that transacted, a 6-speed manual cross-wheel drive 2008. I think it sold for $18,000. I'll put a screenshot on the screen, but still nowhere near the convertibles. And I think part of that is also that the convertibles are probably driven less than the sedans and combis, so they're naturally lower mileage. And with the special editions like the anniversary, they're just probably more well preserved. But it seems like the convertibles seem to fetch a little bit of a premium over the sedans and combis. But I thought it was cool to see that we had two super low mileage, super pristine anniversary 9.3 convertibles, one manual, one automatic, both go for big money. That's it for today. Thank you all so much for watching. If you have any thoughts on the Saab market yourself, please leave them down below in the comments. Do you agree with the numbers here? Do you think that we're in a good position in the Saab market as a whole? What do you think of these NG95s, by the way? Which one of these would you take? I have to say, I think even though it's an automatic, I think I'd take the first one with all of the Hirsch upgrades. Thank you all so much for watching though. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see y'all in the next one.